Midwest. As most of you may know, we're excited to dive into the discussion that both is timely and crucial for our region today. Public Works directors in the Midwest are navigating a landscape filled with unique challenges, from aging infrastructures and budget constraints. We will talk about that with our panel, to workforce shortages and the impacts of climate change. We'll explore innovative strategies and balancing immediate needs for long-term planning, leveraging technology, and fostering community support. Through the real-world cases, you'll gain insight into overcoming obstacles and enhancing infrastructure resilience. Before we dive in, I've asked each one of the panelists to introduce themselves and outline their role and contributions within their company. I'll start with myself. As most of you know, Ken just mentioned, my name is Jacqueline Umbles. I'm the Information Coordinator for the City of Chicago Department of Procurement Services. I oversee the city's premier procurement events, such as the Construction Summit and the Procurement Symposium. So if you've seen on the highways, that big banner that just passed, it was kind of orange and loud. That was our banner for the 2024 Procurement Symposium, where I've achieved a notable 60% increase in participation due to the exhibitors that are at that event, workshop topics that we've had to discuss, and some of the distinguished speakers we have secured. Beyond managing these high-profile events, my dedication is to enhance our brand's perception, creating compelling content, and delivering impactful diversity educational programs. My work also focuses on community outreach and engagement, leveraging innovative strategies and technology to connect with business owners. This approach helps me foster community relations and drive results through strategic public relation initiatives. So it's kind of ironic that I follow my sister agency, CTA, Juan Pablo DePrisi, because I have worked with him for so long, and he actually was on my panel that I moderated for the Construction Summit. But he also mentioned several different assist agencies that we have with the City of Chicago, such as HACIA. We also have Hire 360, Revolution Workshop, and Chicago Women in Trade. If you want to take a look at the full listing of assist agencies that we have, you can find those agencies in our buying plan at chicago.gov/DPS. Therefore, you will see an icon that says buying plan. Click on that, and you will see all of the opportunities that are out there for the City of Chicago, along with in the back of that book, you will see the assist agencies. So with that said, I just want to say that the Department of Procurement Services at the City of Chicago basically does everything from contracts to certification of firms to compliance to make sure that whatever is awarded is followed through and made sure that it keeps up to the level. With that said, I am going to let each one, and I'm going to start with Jana, and we're going to go kind of in alphabetical order. I'm going to let Jana start and explain who she is and what she does for the City of Chicago.
Thank you, Jackie. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jana Williams. I am an Assistant Procurement Officer for the Department of Procurement Services with the City of Chicago. I've been with DPS for about 10 years now. I started with our certification and our compliance team, working to ensure that prime contractors were utilizing certified firms and also ensuring that prime contractors were meeting their various goals as far as Chicago residency ordinance, our equal employment opportunity commitments, and such, and working to ensure that we have firms that are certified in our various areas in our department. Currently, I work with our design and construction unit and oversee the contracting opportunities for primarily our Department of Transportation, CDOT, and also our Department of Water Management. And one of our biggest goals and challenges is working with small, diverse firms and increasing contracting opportunities for small vendors and certified firms.
Patrick.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Patrick Money. I'm from Michigan, so I came over yesterday, so happy to be here. It always weirds me out because Lake Michigan's on the wrong side when I'm over here, so it always just takes me a little bit to get kind of reacclimated. I work for the state of Michigan. I oversee and run what's called the Office of Public Lands, and it's a newly created office during our current governor's administration. Governor Whitmer decided that state government was going to take a bit more of a proactive role on some of these program areas that state government has not stepped into recently. And she recognized that state government was already kind of working at their max capacity, and they're very comfortable working in kind of their silos, as most state governments are comfortable doing. And she decided she wanted to create a new office to take on these program areas. So she said, I'm looking for somebody who doesn't stay in their lane. And they're like, I got your guy. And so I was asked to run that office. I was able to build a team, and we take on program areas like solar development on public land, EV infrastructure on public land, dam management. The DNR owns over 260 dams that are very old and aging that if they fail, like we've seen in the last couple of years, have major public health and safety impacts. So everything that I do is across publicly owned land. So the state of Michigan owns about 6 million acres, which a number like that doesn't mean much, but the publicly owned resource by the state of Michigan is approximately the size of Maryland. So that kind of puts it in perspective. And as the largest landowner in the state of Michigan, we have a responsibility to play a role in the energy transition, the EV transition. So that's what my office is here to do, is to bring capacity, push the limits of state government, and break a few things and see if we can make it better moving forward.
Perfect. Ted.
Good afternoon. My name is Ted Gibbs. I'm the Director and Counsel for Administrative Hearings with Secretary of State Alexi Giannoulias. It's been a pleasure to be here. Glad to follow JP, who I had worked with previously when I was in the private sector working for on the RPM project. He and his team do a fantastic job with really maximizing the resources that CTA provides and really impacts the DB participation on that project as well as the other projects. So my role as Director and Counsel for Administrative Hearings is I'm the person who coordinates all the administrative hearings for people who lose access to whatever various licensure licenses they have, whether it be dealer licenses, driver's licenses, those types of things. But what really drove me to accept this role from Secretary of State Giannoulias is he was really interested in how do we modernize the Secretary of State's office? How do we really utilize new technologies, new approaches, new efficient ways that government could run and make it so that state government is seen by those people who interact with the Secretary of State as being efficient. We're the largest Secretary of State in the country. We do over about 30 million transactions a year, generate about $3 billion of revenue and about $2.3 billion of that goes into the road fund. So we're dedicated to trying to find new ways in which we can be more efficient. One of our real ideas is to try to we're coming up on a 1-year anniversary of the Skip the Line program, which is trying to get people to sign up via the website with appointments, but also try to find ways in which we can deploy technology so that the services that they may have or need, they can be able to do from their home or not have to wait in line, because as everybody knows, waiting in line at the DMV is about the last thing anybody wants to do. So thank you.
And while you have the mic, I'm going to let you kind of give us a little bit more on some of the modernizations that you all have done with the Secretary of State's office.
Sure. No, happy to. Always excited to be able to talk about ways in which we can make government work better for people. I think I share the Secretary's vision that when people see government working for them or find ways to help them with their everyday problems, it lets them see that we can solve problems. So as I mentioned, the Skip the Line program was really about trying to get people to go to the website, sign up for appointments, but also finding ways in which we could have people be able to renew their driver's licenses without having to come into the office. And then also, how do we find ways in which we can communicate using the more modern techniques that a lot of people in the private sector are used to? So one of the things that we put in place at the Department of Administrative Hearings is using virtual Teams hearings. So using the platform for Microsoft Teams, we have set up, we started with a pilot project, but we've set up now where people can be able to have a hearing where they need to get their driver's license back, where they don't have to take off all morning from work. They can be able to jump on the hearing, explain what's going on with them, fill out the appropriate paperwork, send that in digitally, and then be able to receive their driver's license back. So we've seen that these types of virtual outreach programs can be very successful in helping people that may not have the time to take off a whole morning. They may be working at a factory, but they can only come on their lunch break. They want to come and do their virtual hearing. We're there for them to help kind of facilitate those types of matters. We want to make sure we do it and follow all the rules and the applicable statutes, but in order to keep people safe, but we also want to be as efficient as possible. We've seen that these types of virtual hearings save people money on travel. They save time if they have to hire an attorney, because the attorney can be able to do them at multiple hearings at a time. And then they also provide access to justice. We have a lot of underserved areas here in city of Chicago, but also downstate and in rural Illinois. And people can be able to jump on those hearings and receive some adequate representation from someone that may not be right next to them, but that they can be able to receive those types of services. So this deployment of technology has really been successful in helping us reach out to people and also seeing that they can be able to get the proper licensure issues resolved in a fair and efficient manner.
Good. You all have been busy. I'm going to let Gianna talk a little bit about what methods or tools have she found effective in communicating the benefits and necessities of infrastructure improvements to the public.
Some tools that we've been utilizing are basic tools like community outreach. We find that there is a gap between our services that we need and getting small vendors to bid on contracts and to actually work on our contracts. That's from prime contractors to subcontractors and also within our workforce. We are seeing some of our larger departments like the Department of Water Management. Chicago has a huge undertaking of getting all of our lead lines replaced. We have the largest amount of lead lines in the nation right now, and we see there's a challenge with plumbers. I think this is a challenge across the board with the nation. So we are looking to, one, help firms start businesses, grow their businesses, and work on our contracts. One of the ways that we're doing this is by understanding what is keeping firms from bidding on contracts, and on our side, making the efforts to reduce hurdles, such as prompt payments. We aren't doing as well as we can at the City of Chicago with vendor payments, and that's something that we really have to work on. Smaller firms can't wait, months and months to be paid. They need to pay their subs and their people. And even in our contracts, the term for payments is 60 days. And if we're not hitting that goal, it's unacceptable. So with that, our department has to work with the Department of Finance and our user departments to create innovative ways to ensure that firms are being paid on time and quickly. Also, we have to look at the pool that we have amongst us and see how we can help firms grow their business. So we don't have a large pool of small firms that are plumbers right now. So through community outreach and engagement, we're helping firms become certified. And with that, that hopefully will help them grow their business. Also looking at our very large contracts and breaking them up so that small firms have opportunities to actually work on contracts. If you're a small firm, you probably can't take on a $300 million project. So we have our SBI, Small Business Initiative, and our Medium-Sized Business Initiative, where we are having contracts let starting at about $1 million through $10 million. And we've seen a great increase in our SBI program with the Department of Water Management alone. So these are some different ways that we're trying to engage vendors and grow opportunities for small vendors.
Great. And that buying plan that I talked about earlier, those initiatives and opportunities are outlined in that in case you're interested. Patrick, I just wanted to hear a little bit more about the solar developments that you have. And then if you could talk briefly about the development and the support of mass timber environments in the Great Lakes region.
Yes. So kind of to build on what she just said was in order to kind of get support around some of these projects that we face challenges with, it's a little different for us because we're developing in these natural areas and not in the urban areas. So the lands that I work on are natural and working lands. So these lands are often viewed as natural spaces that are set aside and preserved, and that's not always the case. They're working for us. They're natural working lands. So having a really solid communications plan has been one of our number one points of focus to make sure that accurate information is being put out, and that not snippets of conversations or snippets of PowerPoints are being taken out of context. So to step to the solar development, like you're asking, we develop solar down to like turnkey systems on a single building. A lot of our parks, outhouse and restroom facilities run on solar. So if the power grid goes down, we still have functional facilities for the public. All the way up to utility and community scale solar. So, 5, 6, 7, 800, 1,000 acres at a time. So what's important to us is really having a robust communication plan, because the communities that we're doing these in are typically rural, very remote. They're interested in having their woods protected. And we are too, but we recognize that there is a responsibility on the state's end to provide benefits to the communities and renewable energy in the same area. So there's a lot to it. If anybody has more questions on solar development in Michigan, I can talk all day about it. I've got 20 minutes and 21 seconds left. I don't want to burn it all up. So one of my favorite things and the most exciting things that I'm working on is mass timber. So my background is in forestry. I've got degrees in forestry from Michigan State. I did some grad work at Michigan State, did some grad work at Yale, all around forestry, economics, business, and the forest products industry in Michigan is the second largest industry in the state, behind, big surprise, automobiles. So it's a big player. It's a big economic driver in Michigan, and we have taken a pretty hard look at the steel and concrete industry, and how it fits into our climate goals as a state. And we recognize that, we'll never replace steel and concrete. That's an unrealistic expectation. But utilizing forest products as a third option in large scale buildings provides a significant climate benefit, as well as supporting a local economy and industry in the state of Michigan, which is the forest products industry. So Michigan has really started building this mass timber environment, and we're starting to, so my office funds the mass timber program called Mass Timber at MSU, at Michigan State University. So we are tied, very closely. Michigan Tech up in the western Upper Peninsula, we're bringing them on, and we're trying to build this mass timber environment in the Great Lakes region. So, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Ontario, we're starting to bring all of these entities and agencies and interests together into one place and start having a conversation. So we're not all doing it at the same time and competing with each other, but so that we can build a complementary environment to hopefully help everybody be successful. So if anybody has seen a mass timber building, I know there's some here in Chicago. They're super cool. They're just amazing buildings to hang out in, and check them out if you haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, we didn't know about it until we were discussing that earlier, and we were talking about one that's on Southport. So yeah, you check it out because it is mega interesting. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about balancing immediate needs versus long-term. Just wanting to see if you can tell us a little bit, and anyone can take a stab at this one, how you prioritize addressing urgent infrastructure needs and planning for the future. Oh, did I? Go ahead. Anyone that wants to take that one.
Well, for me, our immediate needs are what we have to focus on. We plan for the future, but again, with infrastructure and some of the challenges that we have currently, such as lead in the water, that is an immediate need, and it affects all of Chicago. It affects most of the state. I believe the water department provides water to 42% of the state. So with lead in the water, I think there is a thought that there is some acceptable amount of lead. My science background tells me there is no acceptable amount of lead that can be in the water. So it's really understanding how we can bring contractors on board and grow smaller firms. Even with our larger firms, we need a diverse community of vendors to help partner with the city to rectify this problem and the immediate needs. And that goes with most of our infrastructure. There's an immediate need and we plan for the future, but the focus currently is working on some of these bigger projects.
Anyone else?
Sure, I can jump in. One of the urgent needs at the Secretary of State's office is to replace the aging old cloud system that was actually it is written, the DMV system, the technology is written in COBOL. So we don't there actually are not. They don't even teach that anymore at most computer science majors. So we have to replace this old aging infrastructure, which houses millions and millions of records with also moving into a cloud-based system. So we figuring out how you can find both people that are capable of reading Cobalt and then being able to design a new system where this new system can move into place is really a challenge. But I think in talking to the General Assembly and to others, it is really about saying, in order for Illinois citizens to be safe and secure, to not be subject of cyber attacks, or to move into the 20th century, not even the 21st, we need to replace this old system. So emphasizing the really high priority needs of replacing this old DMV system is how we've been really trying to address that need.
You took me way back. I have a technical background, degree in computer science. So Fortran and COBOL, yes, is not being taught anymore.
Yeah, I guess so.
Any thing from the Michigan
So
you want to add?
yeah, so I work on a little different type of projects related to infrastructure than my two co-panelists here, because I don't deal with public water or public electricity. But what I do deal with, and I mentioned earlier, is dams. We own a lot of dams. In the CCC era, dams were really popular. It was a lot of work for a lot of people to go build dams across the state of Michigan, which was great at the time. However, those dams are now approaching, some are over 100 years old. And there are places that maybe we don't want dams anymore, or they're in a condition that the dam is failing. And if it does actually fail, that there is a major consequence downstream, if the impoundment lets out and wipes a town off the map. So we've had that happen twice in the last 5 years. It wasn't our dams, but there were two hydro dams in Michigan that we had major rain events. They both blew and wiped a town off the map. And so we're really obviously very aware of that. And so we're trying to take this approach to inventory our dams, get conditions on them, determines which ones have to go, which ones we need to stay. There are people that live on impoundments with lakefront property, and if we remove the dam, they no longer have lakefront property. That's a super unpopular conversation to have. So a lot of it right now we're working on is getting data, inventorying, and prioritizing, and then it's time to go find the money. There's nothing cheap about removing a dam or repairing a dam. So,
and as we wrap up, I think I want to take the approach for lessons learned for our colleagues out here that maybe serve in the same roles that you do. What would one item that you would say is a lesson learned in your line of work?
Sure, I can jump in. One lesson learned as we work on modernizing an office, we have to kind of wear two hats. You have to keep the hearings moving, keep the business going while also modernizing the office. So we have to kind of keep the trains running and being able to make sure that we are also delivering on the modernization program. So I think one of the lessons I've learned is that you have to really work with your colleagues and the staff on understanding that this is going to be a change, but it's a change for the better, that we are going to improve not only the staff's work, but also the work product that they're going to be able to put out there, that they won't have maybe as many upset customers, and that overall it will be a benefit, but that at the beginning there will be some difficulties in making this transition. So that's certainly been a lesson that I've learned.
For me, I think a recent lesson learned is working to create strategic partnerships and understanding what my peers are doing, what different agencies are doing, and talking with people who work in the same space. it's a great way to build ideas. And as far as some of our sister agencies that are doing great work to build their supplier diversity, understanding what they're doing and bringing that back to our department and building upon that, and also working to create strategic partnerships amongst contractors. So having our prime contractors work with smaller firms through like a mentor protege program, and just really looking at what the industry is doing and finding ways that, or looking at ways that people are winning and bringing that to our department.
Thanks a lot. You stole mine. So I'll build on that a little bit, and then I'll throw another one out there. Building partnerships and sharing what you're working on has been huge for us. Working, with the blinders on has never worked. Will continue to not work. So be willing to look, across borders. I'm here in Illinois, learning from people in this room. We work in, we're part of the U.S. Climate Alliance, so we work with dozens of other states. I'm a climate advisor to the United Kingdom, so I work with other countries on same projects that they're facing over there or in other states that we face in Michigan. So why repeat the same mistakes that other people make if you can learn from them and also share the mistakes and successes that you've had? So that was to build on yours. The other one is, and I know that this is difficult to do, it's easy to say, difficult to do, is build an environment that is supportive of failure. One of the questions I was asked when I was offered this position was, what motivates you more than anything else? And I said, tell me no. Tell me no. And I was like, and I'll get it done. Like, if you say no, that can't be done, I'll find a way, just out of spite. And I may do it wrong 3-4 times, and that's okay. But on the 5th try, if I get it right, those 4 other times are worth it, as long as you don't make the same mistake over and over and over. So I guess to wrap it up, be willing to take a risk, be willing to find value in breaking things and failing, but make sure you learn something and keep pushing. Those hard stops that we all think are there, sometimes they're not as hard as you think they are. And if you put a little pressure on them and push, sometimes they move easier than you think.
And I guess for me to close, the strategy that we have within the Department of Procurement Services, kind of talking with our colleagues and making sure that we all are on board with what's going on, because a lot of times, sometimes you can get lost with so many different agencies and departments. You can get lost or don't incorporate key individuals that need to be at the table. So making sure that we are really aware of that and who's at the table and whose voices, and kind of doing focus groups with some of our assist agencies and sister agencies. We ask a lot of questions, surveys and questions and stuff, so that we can make sure that we are on board. I will also take another piece from the panel that someone mentioned about communication. And for me, communication is key. Making sure that you are communicating every step of the way for internal customers as well as external customers. And then lastly, in participating in conferences like this, for me, it helps me understand what people are doing out there, so that we can bring it back to the city and kind of build on those things and show them some of the things, because public and private, a little bit of difference, but making sure that everybody is aware of what's going on outside, because everybody can't come outside to see what's going on outside, but making sure that they know what is going on outside. So we thank you for listening to us, and we are available to answer any questions that you may have from any one of the panelists today. Thank you so much.